Welcome to the Dental Pro Tech Talk, the ultimate show for dental professionals staying on the cutting edge of dentistry and technology. Join us as we explore the latest advancements in dental tools and techniques, from soft tissue diode lasers and teeth whitening to imaging breakthroughs and beyond. We're here to help you future-proof your practice and deliver exceptional patient care. Whether you're a dentist or hygienist, this podcast is your go-to resource for tips, growth, and all things tech.
Welcome back to Dental Pro Tech Talk. Today we're diving deep, into the cutting edge of curing light technology, specifically laser curing, and what it could mean for your practice and your patients.
Yeah, it's not every day a technology comes along that has the potential to, revolutionize how we perform everyday procedures. But we might just be on the cusp of that with laser curing.
We've got 4 incredible sources to guide us through this deep dive, each offering a unique perspective on this new emerging technology. We'll be looking at research from Dalhousie University, a dental advisor report, an evaluation from Clinician's report, and a study out of the University of Washington. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's set the stage here. We all know resin-based composites have become the go-to for restorations, and proper light curing is absolutely essential for success.
Absolutely. Under-curing leads to compromised restorations and ultimately unhappy patients, coming back with issues. So anything that can improve curing effectiveness is worth a close look.
Precisely. Now, this Dalhousie University study, it really throws a wrench into things by highlighting a critical issue with current light curing units, something called beam divergence.
Right. Beam divergence essentially means that the light energy weakens as it travels away from the tip of the curing light. And the researchers found that this isn't just a minor dip in power. Some units lost a whopping 86% of their power at a distance of just 10 millimeters.
86%. That's a staggering loss.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that in real-world dentistry, getting that curing light tip perfectly flush against the composite is often impossible.
Exactly. Cusp slopes, matrix bands, deep cavities, these are all everyday challenges that prevent us from achieving that ideal 0 millimeter distance. And this means we could be unknowingly under-curing our restorations and setting ourselves up for problems down the line.
Okay, this is a big deal. We're essentially flying blind here, thinking we're curing adequately, when in reality we could be way off.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And that's where this new technology comes in, the MONET Laser Curing Light. This device uses laser diode technology, which creates a highly collimated beam of light, meaning it stays focused and doesn't spread out like traditional LED curing lights.
So instead of that light scattering and weakening as it travels, the MONET delivers a precise and consistent beam of energy, even at those clinically significant distances, where beam divergence is an issue.
Precisely. Think of it this way. The MONET acts like a focused laser beam, delivering that energy precisely where it's needed, unlike traditional lights that scatter their energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how does this translate to real-world results? Does the MONET actually cure better and faster? That's where the dental advisor report comes in, right? They put the MONET to the test using 3 different bulk fill composites.
They did, and the results were impressive. For some composites, the MONET was able to achieve sufficient cured depths in a mere 3 seconds, which is up to 7 times faster than some LED lights. What's even more remarkable is that there was no significant difference in curing depth between 2 millimeters and 10 millimeters.
So even at a distance, the MONET is delivering the same curing power.
Exactly. That tight beam collimation means that the MONET consistently delivers the energy needed for thorough curing, regardless of those tricky clinical situations we discussed earlier.
This is starting to sound like a game changer. But what about those deep preparations, where achieving adequate cure at the bottom of the restoration can be a real nightmare? That's where the University of Washington study comes in, right?
You got it. They focused on a specific problem, composite debonding, at the floor of deep preparations. And to study this, they used a technique called optical coherence tomography, or OCT, which actually allows them to visualize debonding happening in real time during curing.
Wait, they can see the debonding as it's happening. That's incredible.
It is fascinating technology, and what they found when they compared the MONET to a traditional LED curing light was remarkable. The MONET showed significantly less debonding in deep preparations, particularly at that 8 millimeter distance we've been talking about.
So not only is it curing faster and deeper, it's also minimizing the risk of debonding, especially in those hard-to-reach areas.
Exactly. This suggests that the MONET could be a real game changer when it comes to improving the longevity of those complex restorations, where achieving a strong and stable bond is paramount.
And I have to ask about safety. When we talk about lasers, especially in dentistry, the first thing that comes to mind is protecting our patient's eyes.
Yeah, you're right to bring that up. Anytime we're dealing with powerful light sources,
Yeah.
safety has to be a top priority. The MONET is classified as a Class 4 laser, which means it requires the use of specific safety precautions.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? What kind of precautions are needed?
The most important measure is wearing appropriate laser safety glasses during operation. The good news is, the MONET comes with 2 pairs of these glasses included, designed to protect against the specific wavelength of light emitted by the laser.
That's good to hear. But what about those of us who wear loupes during procedures?
They've thought of that too. The MONET offers drop-in lens options that can be integrated into your existing eyewear, providing both magnification and laser safety.
That's fantastic. It sounds like they've really addressed those safety concerns comprehensively.
They have. And it's our responsibility to ensure we are using this technology safely and responsibly. Now, while the Dalhousie study and the University of Washington study really highlight the limitations of traditional LCUs and the potential of the MONET to overcome those challenges, the other 2 sources, the Dental Advisor Report and the Clinician's Report article, provide even more insights into this exciting new technology.
Okay, let's dive into those. What else did the Dental Advisor have to say about the MONET's performance? Their testing involved those 3 bulk fill composites, right?
Yes, they tested the MONET with 3M Filtech, 1 bulk fill, Tokiyama Omnichroma Flow Bulk, and Kerr Sonic Fill 3, which are all popular choices in many practices. And aside from the impressive cure depths and speed we discussed, they also did something quite interesting. They used a unique MOD filling simulation to visually reveal any undercured areas.
A MOD filling simulation, what is that exactly?
It's a model that mimics a real-world MOD preparation with all its complexities and challenges. And the MONET performed exceptionally well in this simulation, demonstrating its ability to cure effectively, even in those hard-to-reach areas that often lead to undercuring with traditional LCUs.
That's impressive. So it's not just performing well in controlled lab settings, it's also proving itself in scenarios that mimic the challenges we face in our everyday practice.
Exactly, and that's what makes this technology so promising. It's not just a theoretical advancement, it's something that has the potential to make a tangible difference in the quality of care we provide to our patients.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. Now, what about the Clinician's Report article? They took a broader look at the MONET, comparing it to not just LEDs, but also plasma arc and halogen lights.
That's right, they wanted to see how the MONET stacked up against a wider range of curing light technologies. And they found that the MONET had the highest irradiance output among all the lights tested, leading to faster and deeper polymerization.
So it's not just a marginal improvement, it's significantly outperforming the other options.
Yes. They also looked at heat generation, which is always a concern with high-power curing lights. While the MONET did produce less heat than the plasma arc light, it's still something to be mindful of, especially during longer curing times.
That makes sense. More power often comes with more heat. But what about compatibility? Can the MONET be used with all the different resin materials we have in our practices? That's always a concern when a new technology comes along.
That's a great question. And the Clinician's Report put that concern to rest. They found that the MONET was compatible with all the light cure materials they tested, which means you don't have to worry about limitations in terms of the resins you can use with it.
That's a huge relief. Compatibility is a key factor for any new technology.
It certainly is. And what's particularly fascinating about the Clinician's Report is that they included a quote from Dr. Gordon Christensen, who is, as you know, a highly respected voice in the dental community.
I always pay attention to what Dr. Christensen has to say. What were his thoughts on the MONET?
He was very impressed with its performance, calling it remarkably fast and effective. That kind of endorsement from someone like Dr. Christensen speaks volumes about the potential of this technology.
It certainly does. So we've got faster curing times, deeper penetration, less debonding, compatibility with a wide range of materials, and even praise from leading clinicians. It sounds like the MONET is checking all the boxes.
It does seem that way. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Every technology has its nuances, and it's crucial to understand both the benefits and the potential limitations before making any decisions about incorporating it into our practices.
You're absolutely right. So let's take a step back and delve a little deeper into some of the potential drawbacks and considerations highlighted in these reports. What kind of things should we be aware of before jumping on the laser curing bandwagon?
Well, one thing that was mentioned in both the Dental Advisor and the Clinician's Report evaluations was the potential for heat generation, especially during longer curing times.
Makes sense. More power usually means more heat.
Right. And the MONET, with its high irradiance output, can generate some heat. However, the reports also suggested some simple strategies for managing this, such as using a gentle airstream to cool the surface during curing, or pausing briefly between exposures.
Okay, that sounds manageable. Anything else we should be aware of?
Another point they brought up was the need for multiple exposures. Since the Monet delivers its energy in short bursts, it often takes more than one exposure to ensure complete polymerization, particularly for larger restorations.
So it's a bit of a trade-off.
Yeah.
Faster curing times per exposure, but potentially more exposures overall.
It is, and that's where understanding the nuances of this technology and adapting our technique comes into play. But beyond these practical considerations, I think it's worth circling back to the science behind the Monet's effectiveness, because that's where things get really fascinating.
Okay, let's unpack that. What makes the Monet's laser light so unique and effective compared to traditional light sources?
One key factor is its emission spectrum. The Monet produces a monochromatic blue light with a peak wavelength that's perfectly tuned to activate camphorquinone, the most common photoinitiator in our composite materials.
Ah, so it's like a key fitting into a lock.
Yeah.
Monet's light is precisely matched to trigger that polymerization process.
Exactly. And this is a stark contrast to blonder spectrum lights, where some of the emitted light might not be as effective in activating the photoinitiator.
So not only are we getting that concentrated beam of energy with the Monet, but it's also the optimal wavelength for efficient curing. What's fascinating here is that this precise delivery of energy could have significant implications for the long-term success of our restorations.
Yeah, the clinician's report touched on this, suggesting that the Monet's ability to achieve deeper and more thorough curing could lead to increased longevity of resin restorations.
It makes sense, right? A well-cured restoration is less likely to experience issues like microleakage staining
Yep.
or breakdown over time.
Precisely. And that could translate into fewer replacement restorations, reduced chair time, and ultimately happier patients.
Okay, I'm seeing the big picture now. It's not just about faster curing times, it's about the potential for longer-lasting restorations, which is a huge win for both us and our patients.
It is a paradigm shift. And speaking of shifting things around, let's talk about something that might surprise you. The Monet actually comes with some handy attachments that allow you to customize the beam for different situations.
Oh, really? That's intriguing. What kind of attachments are we talking about?
Well, there's a neutral density filter that reduces the light output by 50%. This can be useful for procedures where high intensity might not be desired, or for patients who are particularly sensitive to light.
Interesting. So it's like a gentler mode for those more delicate cases.
Exactly. And then there are apertures of various sizes, 6 millimeter, 4 millimeters, and even 2 millimeters that can further focus the beam. These are great for attacking curing small areas, or even performing light-guided endodontics.
Wow, that's impressive versatility. It's like having multiple curing lights in one.
It is. It really expands the Monet's capabilities and allows for greater precision and control during various procedures.
This is all very exciting, but I have to admit, I'm still a bit hesitant about lasers. Maybe it's just years of working with traditional curing lights, but there's a part of me that's still skeptical. Are there any drawbacks to the Monet that we haven't discussed yet?
It's understandable to have some hesitation when a new technology comes along, especially one that challenges the way we've always done things. And yes, there are a few things to consider with the Monet.
Okay, let's hear them.
Well, for one, the clinician's report mentioned that there is a slight learning curve with the Monet. That single button control with the safety delay can take a bit of getting used to.
That makes sense. It's a different workflow compared to just pointing and shooting like we're used to, but it doesn't sound like an insurmountable hurdle.
Not at all. The clinicians who evaluated the Monet for Clinicians report initially found the control mechanism a bit unusual, but after a little practice, they reported that it became quite intuitive.
So it's just a matter of familiarizing ourselves with the technology and adjusting our technique accordingly.
Exactly. Now, another point raised was the cost. The Monet is undeniably an investment. It's priced higher than many LED curing lights on the market.
That's always a factor to consider, especially for smaller practices or those with tighter budgets.
It is, and it's important to weigh the potential benefits of the Monet. The faster curing times, the improved depth of cure, the potential for increased longevity of restorations against the initial cost.
Right. It's a cost-benefit analysis that each clinician needs to do for themselves. But honestly, considering the potential long-term gains in efficiency, patient satisfaction, and the quality of our work, I think there's a strong argument to be made for the Monet, even with the higher price tag.
I agree. And let's not forget, the Monet might actually save us money in the long run by reducing the need for replacement restorations.
That's a great point. Fewer failures mean less chair time spent redoing restorations, which ultimately frees up our schedules and improves our bottom line.
Exactly. It's about taking a holistic view and considering the long-term impact on our practices, not just the initial cost.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be a wise investment. But beyond the financial aspects, there's something else I want to circle back to. The safety considerations. We touched on this briefly earlier, but I think it's worth reiterating, especially for those who might still be a bit apprehensive about using a laser in their practice.
You're absolutely right. Safety should always be paramount, especially when we're dealing with powerful light sources. And as we mentioned, the MONET is classified as a Class 4 laser, which means it emits a concentrated beam of light that can potentially be harmful to the eyes if proper precautions aren't taken.
So those laser safety glasses that come with the MONET, those are non-negotiables.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Both the clinician and the patient need to wear the appropriate laser safety eyewear during operation. And thankfully, as we discussed, the MONET offers those drop-in lens options for those who wear loupes or other eyewear during procedures.
That's a relief. It sounds like the manufacturers have really thought through the safety aspects and provided us with the tools we need to protect ourselves and our patients.
They have. And it's our responsibility to use these tools diligently and ensure a safe working environment for everyone involved.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident with the safety aspects now.
Yeah.
But even with all these precautions in place, there's still that nagging feeling of, is this really necessary? I mean, we've been using traditional curing lights for years, and for the most part, they've gotten the job done. So why rock the boat? Why switch to laser curing?
That's a fair question. And I think it boils down to this. Are we satisfied with good enough, or are we striving for excellence? The MONET, with its impressive speed depth of cure and precision, represents a significant advancement in curing technology. It addresses those nagging issues we've all encountered with traditional curing lights: the beam divergence, the inconsistent curing, the uncertainty about whether we're truly achieving adequate polymerization, especially in those deeper layers of the restoration.
You're making a compelling case here. It's not just about adopting the latest shiny gadget. It's about embracing a technology that has the potential to elevate the quality of our work and improve patient outcomes.
Exactly. And I think the clinician's report really captured the sentiment when they shared the feedback from the clinicians who evaluated the MONET. They were consistently impressed not just with the technical capabilities of the device, but also with how it translated into a more positive experience for both themselves and their patients.
I'm curious to hear more about that. What kind of feedback did they share?
They talked about the shorter curing times, which meant less time with patients' mouths open, less discomfort, and a quicker overall procedure.
That's a huge win, especially for patients who are anxious or have a strong gag reflex.
Absolutely. And they also noted the improved curing effectiveness, which they felt could lead to fewer post-operative sensitivities, stronger and more durable restorations, and ultimately a higher level of patient satisfaction.
It sounds like the MONET is not just a game changer for clinicians, it's also making a positive impact on the patient experience.
It is. And that's ultimately what matters most, isn't it? Finding ways to provide our patients with the best possible care, using the most advanced technology available.
I couldn't agree more. So where do we go from here? What's the next step for clinicians who are intrigued by this laser curing technology and want to learn more?
Well, first and foremost, I encourage you to do your own research. Read the studies we've discussed today and explore the information available from the manufacturers.
And of course, stay tuned to Dental Pro Tech Talk. We'll continue to bring you the latest news and insights on laser curing and other cutting-edge technologies shaping the future of dentistry.
We will. And don't hesitate to reach out to us with your questions or to share your own experiences with laser curing. We're always eager to hear from our listeners and engage in these important conversations.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of laser curing lights. It's clear that this technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we approach restorations, offering significant advantages in terms of speed, depth of cure, and precision.
And as with any new technology, there are considerations to keep in mind. But the evidence we've explored today suggests that the benefits of laser curing far outweigh the concerns, particularly when we prioritize safety and take the time to understand and master this exciting new tool.
It's an exciting time to be in dentistry.
It is, and the MONET, with all its potential, gives us a glimpse into the future of restorative dentistry. Who knows what other breakthroughs await us on the horizon?
The possibilities are endless. But for now, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about. So let's wrap up this episode with a final thought-provoking question. Could laser curing be the new gold standard for resin-based composite restorations?
That's a question I'll leave our listeners to ponder.
It's a question that's worth exploring, both in our minds and in our practices. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of laser curing. Until next time, keep innovating and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in dentistry.